Food has a way of connecting people. It's like a universal language of some sort. And for Ana Gonzalez, who is our guest artist for this week, she found her niche in food illustration. It became a reflection and representation of her life, heritage, and experiences, and sense of purpose. So, what does it mean to find your niche? And how do you find it? In this episode, Anna talks about incorporating your personality experiences in your artworks, creating a palette in your head as part of your creative process, how to remain curious and to be keen with the details to level up your art style, translate your gastronomical experience onto paper, how to create an experience for your audience through food color, palette, texture, and shapes, and key actionable steps to overcome art obstacles. If you want to be part of the conversation, then send in your questions and topics you want us to cover to hello@etcherlab.com. What better way to celebrate the Love Month than writing love letters? Yes, you got it right. This Love Month, we are celebrating with our community by reading your art love letters here on the podcast. So in the spirit of love and sharing, head on over to etcherlab.com/artloveletter and submit your messages to your favorite artist. We are so excited and can't wait to read all of them. In this week's Art Love Letter, we're reading a letter from Maris to artist Ian De Jesus. She wrote, "Thank you, Sir Ian, for the class on ink illustrations with gold accents. That made me fall in love more with inking. I have made a series of floral ink and wash, and they are relaxing for me to do. Thank you, and may you be happier, healthier, and with a deep sense of positive well-being. Love, Maris." Hey, this is Jessie from Etcher. We believe in your power to create, so we invited artists from all around the globe to inspire you to keep on creating. Join us in this journey and let's celebrate creativity. This is Make More Art, the podcast.
I think it's a long story because I'm recalling it all started on fourth grade, you know. I started like sketching. I used to love sketching cities. Um, I always traveled with my family when we had the opportunity. And, I just like to sketch just with pencil or with pen, like houses. And even my friends from that time remember me as a person that always was sketching on classes. Like literally we were in math classes, math or science, and I was listening to the class, but I was sketching. And since then, um, I took art classes, but they were not focused on watercolors. They were more into pastels or whatever colored pencils. But later, life goes by, and then I went to college, and then I stopped like my art hobby because I was more focused on school. And later when I went to graduate school, I was feeling a little bit stressed, and I was researching a lot and presenting projects and everything related with my career, that I was starting to feeling a little bit overwhelmed with all this like pressure. And I start like painting, and I was inspired by other artists on social media. And I was like following many watercolor botanical artists and landscaping and urban sketching, and I was truly inspired. I don't know, it was like a feeling in my heart of, wow, I really want to start learning something new, because I missed my art hobby. And yeah, so I start painting, and as you can see, there were like different backgrounds that I have into landscaping and flowers, but food illustration really come after all this. It was not like my first niche.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Anna. I
Mhm.
was I was amazed with how you transitioned because I saw, like what I said offline when
Mm-hmm.
we were chatting, that you started. It's so different. Like comparing your first post, that was back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Was that your?
Yeah.
That was around
Mm-hmm.
2018, right?
Yeah, I think it
And
was, yeah, 2018. Yes.
yeah, and that was it. It's so different from the look and
Mm-hmm.
feel and style that you have now,
Mm-hmm.
doing food
Mm-hmm.
illustration. But let's just go back quickly to when you started. So that you mentioned when you were a kid,
Yes.
you love cities, right? Because you travel
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
Yeah.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the influence of this style of the subjects that you were painting at the start, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
colors. So I saw a lot of like blues, purples. Was that intentional, or was any reason why you were drawn to those colors at the beginning?
They are my favorite colors. I love, those like color palettes
Mm-hmm.
between light blues and lilacs, and but I think I'm a very observer person. So I don't know, I can just sit down and observe a building, a flower, you know a a plate with food, and I just start like observing, the colors, where are the lights, the composition, and I just like create myself a palette in my head, like,
Oh wow.
I just, yeah, I don't know how it happened, but it's like a mental thing, I don't know, and then I put that into paper. That's like my creative process.
That's a really good tip. Being observant, because I noticed that for
Mm-hmm.
most artists that we've had on is that they look at something and they try to
Yeah.
zoom in, which is pretty much what you did.
Mm-hmm.
You look at it, but then
Mm-hmm.
what you did differently is to transform it in your mind and create a palette. Like you picked out the colors in your mind and then translate it onto paper, which is, I'm sure, from what I've seen in your
Exactly.
live demo, that's exactly what you did. When you broke it down,
Yeah.
yeah, the way that the colors were broken down as you were sharing it on the live demo was really
Mm-hmm.
informative. So you started with sketching and doing watercolor for cityscapes. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
I've also seen several landscapes, and then you mentioned flowers as well. So, how
Mm-hmm.
long
Mm-hmm.
did it take for you to transition to from one subject? Because that's what I've seen. You were focused on one, and then you
Yes.
transitioned to another, and then finally you found food illustration to be your
Mm-hmm.
niche. We'll get to that in a bit, but I just would like to
Yeah.
our audience to understand or probably get some,
Mm-hmm.
you know, process flow or
Process.
yeah,
Yeah.
on how you transition from one subject to another.
I think all the pictures you saw are like a representation of what was going on my life at that time. Um, I when I was 19, I moved to the US for starting college there. And I lived a lot of experiences there, mainly, traveling and getting to know people, and those people like give me the opportunity to travel with them as well, and to know more about the American culture. And something I really cherished from that time was seeing landscape. Really, I was a truly observant, and I am a very curious person. So I always like to see details, and I think it's something that characterize a lot my illustrations, and they are very detailed. So when I remember when I was traveling around the US, I went to small towns, to big cities, and there is like a different style in the architectures, and how houses are were built, like for example in the historical sites, and then in more modern cities. So that contrast helped me to memorize some things or some details of what I portrayed on my illustrations, and as well as flowers. And I went a lot to hiking and mountains, and I really love being outdoors. So I think those experiences helped me to portray that into my paintings.
That's beautiful. And they do tell a story of your, if now it makes more sense after hearing you talk about how you incorporate
Mhm.
your life experiences into your work of art. So it's like
Yeah.
art imitating life of some sort. But that's a great way to
Yes.
capture the moments of your life, your travels, the culture, you moving from
Hmm.
Mexico to the US, and
Yeah.
all those
Yes.
experiences. That's really a good tip for someone who is experiencing, I don't know what to paint. That's one way
Yeah.
to do
Hmm.
it. So thank you for
Hmm.
sharing that, Anna.
Hmm.
Now, I did
You're welcome.
see in one of your posts when you were starting out doing food illustration, because I saw that
Hmm.
there's a switch. And then you did mention there that I really wanted to do realistic illustrations. So I'm gonna keep on practicing. Not it's not verbatim, but I think that was the thought for that post.
Yeah.
What made you decide to go and switch to realistic food illustration?
I think I didn't mention, I am a clinical nutritionist, so I think my career involves food in all ways, like cooking and talking about food, how to achieve healthy habits, and everything related with nutrition. But something I truly love is cooking and baking. And there was a time when I was living alone again in the US, that by myself, I took initiative and started cooking, because when I went there, I didn't know anything about preparation, cooking. I don't know. I was like really blind on that side. And I start liking it. And when I returned home, I was really into cooking. So that opened me the possibility to learn more about, how food is composed, but also, again, as an observer and curious person, I like to see how from any kind of plate to bread or any pastry, I like to see how it's composed. How where are the shades? Where is the lighting? How when you see something, you can tell it's crispy, it's juicy, and all those characteristics. I was thinking, wow, how can I give the same essence of a real food into paper? So I started like seeing a lot of food photography, or from my own cooking. How can I put that on paper? So I started practicing, and as you can see, there's been a lot of process, because when I go back and see my first food illustrations, they are like like beginner kind of quality, but at the same time you can tell it's yummy. But when you can see the progress of every illustration, it gets more into the realistic part of the food. I don't know if I explain myself, but yeah, it's been quite a journey.
No, you did. And that's really it's a really great way of explaining the process of
Hmm.
you transitioning to realistic food illustration. And I also like the fact that you acknowledge that it wasn't like 24 hours, like overnight, that you
Hmm.
managed to achieve the kind of detailed work that you
Hmm.
have now with food. And
Yeah.
I also read, I saw that picture of you holding your, was that a diploma or a certificate that you did the, yeah, clinical nutrition. I was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
was that the really the reason why she transitioned to food? Because what she does in your career involves food a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
also coming from Mexico. Mexico, I know you have like an amazing, you know, plethora of dishes. The culture is rich, spices and all. So
Yeah.
I would imagine that
Mm-hmm.
you have like an array of inspiration
Yeah.
of what to paint. But what's interesting as well is that you did learn to cook when you moved to the US. Is that right?
Yes.
Not in
Mm-hmm.
Mexico. Wow, that's surprising. I
No.
would imagine everyone from Mexico are really good at in the kitchen and they like can create. So, okay. I would like to give our audience a fun fact question. So, what was
Yes.
the first probably and probably they will check this on your Instagram, but maybe it's not there. I don't know, but you can tell us, Anna, what was the first
Yeah.
food that you illustrated? The very first, if you can remember,
Oh, the first one.
and why? Yeah.
I don't have my phone here to see, but I think the first one was um like a panna cotta, or
Panna
it was
cotta.
like a
Oh,
flan, and
okay.
it has strawberries and the syrup.
Okay.
I remember. I think it was the first one. And I illustrate that one because, my from my mom's side, we have an Italian heritage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I really like Italian food, and for me, Italian desserts are like just amazing.
Agree.
And I was like, well, I want to illustrate something representative. And yeah, that was like, I see like a photography. I really like to see food photography. I think it's amazing how artists on that like panorama, they put like their props and how they did the food to see it more appetizing. So yeah, I remember seeing that and I was like, yeah, I want to start now and I want to paint that. I don't know.
Okay.
I remember that. It was awesome.
That's great, Anna. And I asked you that question because from there I can actually tell that see from for every painting that you create, especially with food, there's a story behind it. And you can vividly remember that it is
Yeah,
panna cotta and you had the story that Italian dessert from your mom's side, you know.
exactly.
It's so
Yes.
it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's more than just an illustration. And you also nailed it when you said that you would like your audience to have that experience as well
Yeah,
when you're
exactly.
painting if it's from the photograph it looks so juicy and sweet and yummy and it could be hot or cold food or like
Mm-hmm.
savory and you want that
Yes.
experience you want to impart that experience to your audience
Mm-hmm.
so that's really a
Mm-hmm.
great way and I think that translates as well in your workshops so
Yeah.
let's talk about teaching because you
Mm-hmm.
just had your live demo with us. Take me through what was the thought process when Etcher first approached you to teach with us? Was it something that,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I'm going to teach? Or was it something that you've already thought of doing prior to Etcher reaching out to you to teach with us?
Well, first of all, I was stunned. I was like, "What? Wow!" I was like, I received, a direct message about, inviting me to be with you guys, and I was like shouting. I told my husband, I was like, "Wow! I'm going to teach! I am so excited!" But again, I was a little bit nervous at the same time because I have experience teaching, but not in art. I was, I have more teaching skills on my career. But I think what I like about teaching overall is that I have that thoughtful and approachable like mindset, and also I have patience. So I was like, yeah, I want to teach art, and actually was something, a goal for me. on all this in this journey. And I think when I teach, I really like that students, think that they can do even better than me. I'm a teacher, but I am transmitting you my knowledge, and you can do it even better.
Mhm.
Like you can learn from me, but if you practice and if you get committed with this sensation of, I'm going to start something, and this person is like letting me know all their tips and techniques. I
Mhm.
always tell the students that they can improve and that they can put their own style to it. Like they don't have to like be the same as me, and that's the beautiful thing, because every painting that they did in that class was truly unique, and it can speak from them. Like, I made that orange, but Anna has her own style, and I took her like knowledge and put it in my own style. And I
Mhm.
think that's what makes an artwork truly unique.
I love that. I love that. And
Mhm.
I had no idea that you were also teaching, but didn't teach art because I was watching your live demo earlier. I watched it prior, but I watched it again. I was like,
Yes.
oh, it was really good, and I like what I said earlier. When you there's a breakdown of how the colors, the layering, and it was very informative.
Yes.
So I know that you will be doing the live demo with us, and as a teacher, I also like that you put you're yourself from a position that you would want your audience to move forward with the knowledge that they will be getting
Mm-hmm.
from you. So it's like a
Mm-hmm.
knowledge transfer, skill transfer, but at the same time, you are ushering them to be better and to discover their own style. So, which is, that
Yes.
makes me so excited for your mini workshop because that they will have more time with you to learn from you. So, can you share a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
about what you will be doing for your mini workshop?
Yeah, well, on the mini workshop, I will be teaching how to paint a mule wine. It's like I don't know if you want to see like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
illustration, or
absolutely.
you just get, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I have
absolutely.
it here. It's
A
it's a
Russian.
glass
Okay.
cup. Yeah, it's a mule wine, and we are going to learn how to compose everything in like an illustration, like putting shadows, dimension, also an introduction to painting glass, and how to give those realistic reflections in food and in the cup of the cider. And I think it's a good opportunity for all the students to, take this as a challenge and step out of your comfort zone. I think if you are a beginner, it looks a little bit intimidating,
Yeah.
but give it a try. I think sometimes our works have to be a little bit difficult for you to say, yeah, let's take this like as a challenge,
Challenge. Yeah.
and at the same time, you don't have to get the same like illustration as I painted. You can put it your own style, but learning the proper techniques and the
Mhm.
essential techniques of watercolor. So that's like the key point of the class, to learn it and to put in your own style.
Oh my, I'm excited because you just mentioned several things that they will be learning and specifically like how to
Mm-hmm.
paint glass because I think it's quite tricky. And when I look at the cider,
Yeah.
absolutely right. As let's say I don't do all I think I painted or illustrated one or two like cakes and a pie and
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
was kind of intimidating at first to be able to start. So when I look at the
Yes.
cider, I saw that it's a glass and then you have the cider.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is gonna be interesting. And
Yes.
so I myself was really excited to l- learn from you on how you will be able to show us how to teach us how to paint glass.
Yes.
Those
Mm-hmm.
elements within the cup. So it's
Hmm.
gonna be an amazing workshop. And do you have the date for when your workshop will be? The mini workshop?
Yeah, the mini workshop will be on February 27th.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think it will be, yeah, it's in 2 weeks. And I think, I don't remember, but I think it's 2 p.m. Eastern time.
Mm-hmm.
You can find on Nature already the converted like time for every time zone you are. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's February 27th, Sunday.
Okay, that's great. And we will be adding that as well in the description, the link in the description on the show notes. But if you are listening or tuned into this episode, this is coming out next week as of this recording.
Mm-hmm.
So that is
Mm-hmm.
going to be February 14th, Valentine's Day. And
Yeah. Oh,
yes, it's
yeah.
going to be yeah, you'll be listening to this. It's their Valentine treat, and I'm sure you're gonna get
Yeah.
hungry while we talk about food
Yeah,
on this
exactly.
episode.
What a
But I'm sure you're also excited to learn from Anna. There's something about food. I interviewed several food illustrators on the podcast, and you guys have different takes on why you paint food.
yeah.
And for you, it's in line with your career, which is clinical nutritionist, and at the same time, your heritage and your culture.
Yeah.
It's all about food. What would you say would be one is most favorite food subject that you like to paint over and over, and at the same time, biggest influence, I guess, for food illustration?
Well, I am really into pastry illustration and drinks. I truly
Yeah.
love
Mhm.
to paint glass
Mhm.
because it's challenging, but at the same time, really fun because you have to be really careful in, painting those glass reflections and also expressing like drink you
Mhm.
want to paint, and also pastries because I don't know. They are so delicious. Like
I
I
love.
follow many chefs, and they have like those gourmet kind of style pastries. But again, like I love to capture, that fluffiness, that crispiness of different types of pastries. From I think I have an image of a croissant,
Mhm.
and you can see it looks like flaky and crispy, and it's just like the way how to represent every kind of pastry in by their own characteristics, and I think my biggest inspiration is my mom,
Mhm.
because she when I was a little girl, she taught me somehow to cook. However, I wasn't that into it. But what I really love about her is that she loved to make pastries and cakes. She took certifications, and she opened her business, her pastry business.
Wow.
So yeah, like she decored wedding cakes, and
Oh,
and
wow.
she did like the I don't know how you call it, like when you do like flowers with fondant and all that beautiful stuff.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So
So amazing.
she was doing that for many years,
Mhm.
and I got inspired by her as well, because I was like, wow, I really know, I don't know how her creative process was, but what she had here, she transmitted in those beautiful cakes. And I was really stunned. And I think that's where my inspiration comes from.
I love that story. So it's your mom and her
Yeah.
creativity. It
Yeah, my
looks like it
mom.
runs in the
Hmm.
family as well, Anna. And I'm glad that you share that because I know we all have different influencers in our lives.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
it's about not really copying. It's more of like
Hmm.
being inspired by
Exactly.
yeah,
Hmm.
the people who we believe is a good influence or a probably
Hmm.
good, um, source of inspiration. And for you, it's your mom.
Yes.
And your mom does the decorative aspect of it, but you are on
Hmm.
the recipe side and how to make, and I'm sure
Yeah,
healthier
exactly.
because that's your line of
Yeah.
work. Okay.
Hmm.
You did mention two things earlier at the start of our
Hmm.
episode that
Yeah.
I think sets you apart as an artist. I'm sure other artists have also these qualities wherein you said that you are very observant and you are
Hmm.
curious. I believe those two
Hmm.
characteristics as of an artist really pays off every time that you start to look at something and then you translate.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's
Hmm.
listening to this episode, Anna, and I know you did
Yes.
mention that when you started thinking about teaching art, there was a slight, nervousness at the thought of it, but you did so well with the live and hearing you talk about what you will be doing for the mini workshop. I think that the audience or the students who will be signing up or have already signed up will definitely benefit a lot. But if there are
Yeah.
probably any tips and tricks that you can share with anyone who one would like to start their art journey, second, someone who is thinking of doing realistic illustration because that sometimes can
Hmm.
be very intimidating, what would be your
Yeah.
pieces of advice or golden nuggets for them?
I think, first of all, there are like two key points here to consider. Um, you have to be involved. And, when people say this word, probably they are thinking, oh, well, yeah, I have to be committed and, start practicing. Well, yes, but also being involved is to get to know that niche you want to start practicing. And by knowing that niche, I'm meaning, get to know people. If you like food illustration, if you like urban sketching, botanicals, pet portraits, which I think it's a really trendy thing right now, get to know a community,
Mm,
where they can give you tips, where they can influence you to start practicing and to do better every time. Because when you start like an art journey, or if you are already a freelancer, or as you said, if you're starting as a student, sometimes you feel like alone if you don't have people that share the same like passions you have
mm,
in the art scene. And it's truly important to be organized and consistent, and to build that supportive community, because there are lots of artists out there that they share their experiences, they love teaching. And I'm sure if you reach them, as I did like 4 years ago, they told me, oh yeah, you can do this, and you can see pictures, or you can go to Pinterest and look for inspiration. Even though it seems like, and truly or not, all these like little advices help
mm,
me to be here. And then, for those people that inspire me, now I can inspire the students or the people that are coming, right now. And that's truly important. And I think those key points I mentioned are something that you really have to keep inside you. And sometimes there are, it's not easy. There are times where you like have those mental blocks,
mm-hmm,
or when you just don't feel today like practicing,
mm-hmm.
or you feel like one day, I'm not good at it. And that's okay, you can feel it. But I truly always say to people that ask me, you have to be committed and practice, practice, practice every day. Because as you can tell, I started from, the bottom, and it was not as today. And you can see all that progress, and keep your paintings and you will see that progress. And one day you will say, wow, look, everything I have, done and created, and now I'm here. And yeah, you will feel really, really better. It's just how you capture those moments and you put them in your progress, in your progression as an artist. And that's for me success, in how you transform yourself every day within your art.
Beautiful and beautifully said, Anna. Thank you for sharing your journey with us, especially on social media. And sometimes it can be for someone who's starting out and when you're following an artist, right? And you see
Yeah.
all these beautiful paintings and well
Mhm.
pulled out work of arts, it can be intimidating in a way that if you're not at that point, you might think that I'm not getting anywhere, there's no
Yes.
progress. But what you just shared with us is so beautiful and profound that, you can start small and then all you have to do, like what you said, is
Hmm.
practice, 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 stay committed. And I also love when you
Yes.
said be involved. The commitment is
Hmm.
one thing, but really being involved with the type of niche that you really want to
Hmm.
pursue, just like what you did. Food. I mean,
Yes.
you changed from landscape to cityscapes, and you did a little bit of florals, and then now it's all food illustrations, and
Hmm.
your commitment to really enhance your skills and to level up really paid off all these years, and now you're teaching with us and sharing what you have learned. So
Yeah.
we're pretty excited, and thank you, Anna, again for being on the show. I had a great
Oh,
time
thank you
chatting
so
with you,
much. Me too.
knowing that who your influencers are, your mom, and you know how you get to this point of food illustration. It's
Yes.
really a beautiful
Hmm.
journey, and I'm sure for anyone who listen will be listening to this episode will also be inspired to really take on that journey and not give up. So Anna, thank you so much, and we look forward
Exactly.
to your workshop
Thank
coming on
you.
February 27th at
Yes, 27.
27th. Okay,
I think it's 27th Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday, 27 February.
All right.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, we'll add in the link on the show notes as well for you to check. But this is coming out on Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day, Anna. And
Yeah. What a great day to talk about food.
yes, I'm sure a lot of
Yeah.
people will have like desserts and pastries and whatnot and cakes and all
Yes,
that. I'm pretty sure
exactly.
beautifully
Yeah.
beautifully made. So maybe you can pick one of those
Yeah.
and paint them and subscribe to Anna's mini workshop, and you'll get the techniques on how to do just that. Thank you, Anna, for being
Thank
on the
you.
show. Please stay safe and continue inspiring us with
Yeah.
your
Thank you so much.
illustrations. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
This conversation with Anna reminded me of how important it is to be intentional in everything that we do and to remain curious as part of our growth. Whether it's art or any facet of your life, finding your niche and purpose is a journey that all of us should savor. So tell us what you think about this episode, and don't forget to write to your favorite artists through etrolab.com/artloveletter, and we'll read them up here on the podcast. Catch the show notes at etrolab.com/Anna. We would love to hear your thoughts, so please drop us a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast, or you can find us on YouTube at Etro Studio. And hitting the subscribe button is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you again next time. Until then, let's make more art.